Welcome to Sisflix, the podcast where we won't judge you for talking through the movie. Sisflix are the movies you laugh at, yearn for, and overanalyze with your girls, significant others, and now us.
We are your hosts,
Paola
and Nadhya, two sisters and designers who discuss chick flicks we hate to love,
tropes we love to hate,
and all of the aesthetic choices in between. Join us as we break down our favorite movies together.
Hey, sister.
Hey, sister. How's it going?
It's going. At the time of recording, we're getting ready to officially celebrate the holidays. You guys will probably be hearing this just after Christmas, before New Year's, hopefully. So I hope everyone's having a nice holiday. I mean, our holiday season continues on through the first week of January. I celebrate Three Kings Day with my kids. So, I mean, we're still going, baby.
I do not celebrate Three Kings Day, but I will be living in ignorance of having to go back to work on the 2nd. So I don't know why we couldn't just get that week. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know why the government couldn't be like, damn, this year was terrible.
The rest of the week.
Let me just hit you with this Thursday, Friday combo and y'all be back at work on Monday. I don't know why they couldn't do that. That was pretty fucked up, but we live in capitalism. You know what I mean?
Here we are.
Hashtag free Luigi. That's for me. So back from the holidays, during the holidays, however it is you celebrate or do not celebrate. If you just had a really lovely Wednesday, I hope you had a great Wednesday, December 25th, whatever that may mean to you. But we're back to talk about Heartstopper Season 3, Episodes 5 and 6.
Perfect episodes, too, to discuss this time of year.
Truly.
It hit right on.
It did.
Well, this episode, the first one anyway, it's Christmas and New Year's. So here we are, baby.
Yeah. So let's give you a quick little recap of where we last left the gang. So if you guys remember from our recap of episodes 3 and 4, we left off at the end of episode 4 with Charlie coming back home just in time for the holidays from his inpatient facility while he was undergoing treatment for his eating disorder and undergoing therapy. So he has left that chapter behind him. He's now back at home with his family, getting ready to see all of his friends. At the end of episode 4, we saw him and Nick finally seeing each other on real ground, not at the facility during a visit. When Charlie went to Nick's house after arriving home, they shared a very sweet embrace. It was very, very cute. Very big tearjerker episodes 3 and 4.
Oof.
And we're going to keep that going. We're going to keep that energy low. Let's keep crying. I'm mostly kidding. I think episode 5 is pretty chill on the crying scale, but it does ramp up a little bit more with the next few episodes of season 3, I think.
I mean, episode 5 was sad.
It's emotional in a different way.
Yeah, episode 5 for me was emotional. It felt very relatable. And then in episode 6, we see some of our main characters go through some tough stuff that made me angry. And then after that, I feel like it starts getting uplifting again.
It's a roller coaster.
It's a roller coaster, and we're on it, baby.
We're strapped in.
Let's go.
This roller coaster has been inspected by a governing body, so we're safe. We're cool. Let's keep going. Let's enjoy regulations while we've got them.
You're an ass.
All right, guys, let's get into episode 5, titled Winter. For those of you who may not be in the know, episode 5 specifically portrays the events from Alice Oseman's novella This Winter, featuring all of the OG characters that we know and love from the Heartstopper webcomic and graphic novel series. So the timeline of This Winter takes place before the events of Solitaire, which is Alice Oseman's novel, which focuses on Tori as the main character, and the Heartstopper universe kind of being expanded off of Tori's universe from the book Solitaire. So this episode opens with an almost empty cup with a straw in it to let you know that we're in Tori's room, hydrated queen. The walls are very blue with these kind of like orange string and globe lights. Tori is laying under purple covers, looking dejectedly up at the ceiling. We've mentioned this before in our season 3 recaps, but her room is like very funky and very eclectic, and I think a lot more than you would expect by interacting with Tori as a character. I think Tori at face value is one thing, and then you dig into her space and get a little bit more background information on her, and then she becomes another. That's pretty interesting, and I think that's a really fun production design choice. Right next to Tori's almost empty cup with a straw in it is a snow globe, which, if you look closely, has a figure of who we know to be Tori, but to the average viewer is just a figurine of a girl from the cover of Alice Oseman's Solitaire, as we mentioned. So this episode is kind of pulling from the events of a novella that's set previous in the Heartstopper timeline to Solitaire. It's definitely an Easter egg for people who are aware of Alice Oseman's other works and kind of the origination of the Heartstopper story.
That was such a cool Easter egg. When I saw it, I was like, oh, wait, hold on. I think that's the figure from the book, from the cover of the book. I got so giddy. I was like, oh, that's so cool that they did that.
This is so standard for Paola. So we see Tori don some bunny slippers and creep into Charlie's room in an interesting shot from above as we see her climb into Charlie's bed.
This really is sibling shit.
Yeah, I mean, unless you just forced your sibling to share a bed with you until you were like a teenager, that wasn't me.
Who was that? I don't know. I don't know anyone who did that.
Who was afraid of the dark? I don't know. So Tori climbs into Charlie's bed. You can kind of tell by the light coming in through the window that it's still pretty early. Both Tori and Charlie have obviously been laying awake in bed for a while, which is why she went to join him in his room. Tori gets underneath the covers, just lays right next to him, and they're both just like dreading the day ahead. They discuss, kind of in a sarcastic way, the Christmas presents that they want to receive and how neither of them have really slept well, anticipating how, Christmas is going to go. And Charlie hopes to receive good mental health, and Tori wants to receive a soul.
That was pretty funny when she said that.
And grandparents that don't comment on my weight, and fathers who know how to season the turkey. Like, that was very funny, but also, like, it kind of punches you in the gut.
It does. And it lets you know, like, Christmas isn't typically fun for them.
Right.
And you have the added layer of this year. Charlie's going through a recovery process, and he's just gotten back, and what that can mean for him.
Yeah, he's just gotten back for one of the most fraught food-eating holidays in the Protestant Catholic world. So, yeah, big pressure on him for the day. They snuggle in bed together just next to each other underneath Charlie's green striped duvet. So we always love to track what color Charlie's sheets are, as a soft indie Christmas song plays in the background. They hope that the day will turn out well, but as with most family functions, we can kind of anticipate how that's going to go. Charlie and Tori play Mario Kart after opening their kind of internal family gifts, their nuclear family gifts, which we see because they have like shredded wrapping paper on like the living room floor.
I have a very small tree.
A very small tree. And even like their home doesn't seem very like decorated for the holiday or like very like warm and inviting. And you can say like as a family, they've been going through a lot with Charlie being out at the facility, Tori probably being really bummed that Charlie was away, Charlie's parents being stressed out because one of their children is receiving treatment for an eating disorder. So I'm sure many different things are swirling around for them at this time.
Absolutely.
As Tori and Charlie are genuinely having a good time playing Mario Kart, their mom anxiously walks past and asks when they're going to get dressed. With that really just universal mom fake peppiness of get fucking moving. When are you guys gonna get dressed?
We're gonna get dressed, guys. Our guests are coming.
People are coming soon.
In this episode, I find myself empathizing with Charlie's mom.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the first one where I'm like, oh, I know exactly how she's feeling right now.
Mm-hmm.
She's worried about Charlie. She's trying to get the house together. She's receiving guests. Then Tori mentions that their grandparents are coming. I'm like, oh, she's getting ready to get shit from her mom. She's trying to, in her brain, already mitigate all the expectations that she has to try to meet that day. And it's like, I can see it. You can hear it in her breath. I mean, she's constantly like very wound up. But like here, I'm like, I fucking get it.
From growing up with my own mom, I can totally catch the vibes.
Something I wanted to point out that I found interesting is, okay, so when we get our title card, we get winter as our title card, and a snowflake goes across the street, and it's what reveals the title winter. Right after that is when we see Tori and Charlie playing Mario Kart, and right after that we see Mom kind of running through the house, trying to get everyone ready and everything in order. Mm-hmm. She's holding onto white snowflakes, like paper snowflakes that she's moving across with. So it stood out to me because winter being the title of the book that this episode is referencing. Also, how much of the events in Winter kind of go down because of how she handled the day and how she handled Charlie, and how, you know, she's the head of the household. She's the one that's kind of setting the tone for everything and has to mitigate everyone's expectations. Mm-hmm. And also how her demeanor can be seen as a bit cold. Mm-hmm. And that's also how we kind of see Tori's demeanor sometimes, can be a bit cold, even though we know she feels so much. Mm-hmm. I wonder if they associate her with the snowflake and that connection with how they seem outwardly.
And I think later on in this episode, we see more motifs of snowflakes, and they show up kind of around or in relation to Tori. So I think that's an interesting connection to make, like between Tori and her mom.
And also, both her and Tori are in their own ways looking out for Charlie in this episode, and each in their own way also kind of backfires on them a bit. Mm-hmm. So I think in this one section of the episode, their experience with Charlie parallel each other a bit.
Yeah, I agree. So the vibes at Charlie's house are tense, right? Meanwhile, at Nick's house, Christmas morning starts on the right foot. He's out there with his family. Everybody's vibing, thriving. There's music on. People are chilling. There's chatter. There's food. I love that for them. And we're saying that with surprise because Latin Americans don't start things until the sun is down. You know what I mean? We don't start stuff till nighttime. So it's morning and they're chilling.
Is it morning though? Are we assuming it's like later in the afternoon?
I'm assuming it's like... No.
I'm assuming it's like early afternoon.
No one has eaten their meals, and knowing when white people eat on holidays, it's like 1 p.m. latest when we see Nick.
You might be right.
Yeah.
But that's also very American. I don't know if that's UK.
Where do you think the Americans come from? Where do you think the idea of being white comes from? What didn't originate here. So they eat early as fuck. The room where we see Nick after cutting from Charlie's house to the scene at Nick's house is very red and pink and warm. Everybody is wearing some variation of like red, pink, yellow, orange. Music is on. Chatter. The mood is super relaxed. Nick looks very relaxed and like he's having a nice time. Nick's mom, where? We can just assume that she's meant to be in the background somewhere. But you know who we do see in the background? Nick's Aunt Diane, Haley Atwell.
Yeah, she's the stand-in this season.
She is.
But there's like no mention of whether Nick's mom is there or not. We're just supposed to assume
she's in the background.
She's cooking, or she's cleaning up, or she went to run an errand.
Or she's Olivia Colman, living a double life. But honestly, I kind of like that they don't give her a reason to not be there, that they just kind of like, hey, we're not focusing on the adults, so we're not really going to focus on her.
They let you assume she's in the background somewhere.
Yes, I prefer that. Sometimes I think when it gets too explainy, it's like distracting and kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So we see, as we check in on Nick and his family, that Nick has gotten a cute new dog. He's gotten a dumb little pug, a precious little peanut, and his dog's name is Henry.
Oh my God. The fact that they named this dog Henry.
They named that dog after a whole British prince, okay? Why would they do that?
Because we're talking about Henry George Edward James Hanover Stuart Fox. I mean, it is a mouthful. Just saying.
Anyway, Nick has a dog named after a whole British prince and shares a pic with Charlie, this precious, stupid little pug that can't breathe. And here are names that I'm pitching for a dog, especially when you get a little pug, right? First of all, dogs shouldn't get people names because dogs don't know what people names are. Name it something stupid. My dog's name is Peanut. Peanut looks like she could beat you up at the prison yard, but her name is Peanut. Name your dog Goofy, Black Bean, Hash Brown. That's adorable. That's fucking adorable. I'm going to name a dog Waffles. I'm going to name a cat Nugget. Like, we're not doing real names. What, are they going to run for office? Shut up.
I think it's funny when pets get real people names.
Get out of here. What am I going to name my dog? Richard? Anyway, so.
Come on, Dick.
Oh, it's worse now. I take it back. So, back at Charlie's house, his parents try to ensure that he's not overwhelmed. I think in a way that's just making him feel a little bit too watched, right? A little bit too surveilled. Charlie's mom's constant attention on him and his eating and how he's feeling makes his patience kind of start to wear thin. And it doesn't help that once his grandparents do arrive, we immediately can tell that his grandparents kind of suck and are very critical people, just in how they interact with Charlie's mom and in how they immediately call out Charlie's weight and that he looks too thin. And then they keep mentioning how happy they are that Charlie's all better now.
Oh my God. It's over.
He's back to normal.
You're cured.
I'm cured.
We're totally normal now, and I can interact with you now that you're normal. Wow. And again, I know we're talking about everything that Charlie's mom is up against on this Christmas Day, but I feel like, all right, was there a communication, a text, an email, a phone call? Hey, you guys are coming over tomorrow. Just wanted to let you know this is the vibe in the house.
Be fucking cool.
Let's try not to bring this up. You know, this can cause added stress. We just want to have a chill day. Try to get everybody into the caring. I don't know if maybe that's too much. Is that too overbearing? Is that maybe frowned upon? Like, oh, now we're coddling. Some people may see it that way. Was maybe this communication attempted, and because you're dealing with critical old people, they were just like, I'm going to say what I want all the time because I've earned that right because I'm old and an asshole. You know, it brought those questions to mind as I'm watching this.
You know, it's a lot of invasive questions and inconsiderate remarks. Again, as we mentioned, aunts, uncles, cousins. Charlie kind of starts getting overwhelmed. Even though he does eat a bit of his Christmas meal with his family, we see him struggling to eat because now he's very self-conscious. Charlie's cousins, who seem to be around a similar age, ask about his boyfriend, which is very sweet. And then they ask how long Charlie's known that he's gay. Which can be like just like a well-intentioned but very, very awkward question. You never ask a straight person how long they've known they were straight, you know? It's just not... Yeah. If you have the kind of familiar relationship with someone where you can kind of delve deep, right, into their like sexual orientation or their gender identity, that's fine. I have very close friends who are queer that I'm like, when did you know you were queer? But when it's your cousin that you see twice a year, maybe less cool.
Or it's not within a mile of any subject matter at the dinner table. Like you just literally blurted out this question.
It's like, you know what? I'll volunteer. I knew that I was straight my first day of kindergarten when I came home and all I could talk about was the boy with the nice face.
They're young teenage girls trying to maybe get familiar with their cousin, but Tori was definitely not having that shit.
No, Tori was not into it. And
no.
I also want to say this is clearly Charlie's mom's side of the family because as we learned in season 2, Charlie's dad's side of the family is Spanish. So I would think that at the very least, if they were to get together with his dad's side of the family, there would be like a little bit more kind of dark-haired, olive skin and or Spanish speaking.
So in the book, both sides of the family are there. And like there's a remark on how like the English grandfather argues with the Spanish grandfather over like politics and shit like that. And that's another layer mitigating those relationships of the in-laws and everyone in both sides of the family. Also, something that is kind of a fan service but came off a little sus was the fact that Oliver, who we know in the book as Charlie and Tori's little brother, they have brought in a cousin Oliver in the show to kind of like, haha.
Look, it's Oliver.
Look, it's Oliver, but it's a cousin.
But he's like a precious little bean. He's the cutest little kid.
And he seems exactly the age Oliver, their brother, would have been if they would have included Oliver, the brother, in the show.
Yeah.
So they kind of gave us Oliver without giving us Oliver. And it was so cute. I really wish that they could have worked in Oliver for the series. But who knows? Maybe he would have aged too much.
I think so.
And they would have had to recast him as the seasons pass, right? Because not that much time passes between the events in the show, but a lot of time passes in production. You would have had to recast Oliver. So it makes sense why they didn't do it. Maybe they didn't have to bring a cousin named Oliver.
I know. But it was a little, I think it was definitely a little bit of fan service.
Fan service, yeah, for sure.
And while they're kind of still seated at this table, having a bunch of different overlapping discussions, Charlie's mom goes to check in on the younger kid side of the table where Charlie and his teenage cousins are sitting. Charlie kind of sharply lets her know that he's fine. I don't 100% agree with his reaction here, but as a former child and former teenager myself, and a current adult who gets easily frustrated by her well-intentioned mother, I absolutely react this way to my mom frequently. So I can't judge too much.
And Charlie's mom was actually just
checking in.
She was checking in. She sees the cousins talking. I'm sure she's worried about what questions they're asking him. Is he eating his food? Is he comfortable? And he's going, hey, is everything okay?
I'm fine.
And she doesn't react either. She's just like, okay, and then goes back to her seat. And then she gets criticism from her mother for checking on her son. So then you start to see that kind of domino effect on how one person's stress and anxiety is projecting onto somebody else, and then they're taking that and projecting it onto somebody else, and so on and so forth. One thing that I wanted to point out is he is wearing the blue Adidas sweater that he got from Nick after their snow day. If you remember their snow day in season 1, episode 2, Crush, I think, where he goes over to Nick's house and they play in the snow. That day, Nick is wearing the blue Adidas sweater that Charlie is currently wearing now. So at some point, Charlie has also taken the sweater from Nick and has kept it from himself. And he's wearing it on Christmas. And I think that says 2 things to me. That says, 1, the comfort he finds in it. Maybe he's using it almost as a bit of a security blanket, which is super sweet. And 2, this we see a bit later on, we start to see kind of a bit of the dependency that he has on Nick and how it's distracting maybe in moments that are important to focus on his family members, like Tori, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. We cut from this kind of uncomfortable, mealtime interaction at Charlie's house back to Nick's house, where we see Nick kind of in the dining area with his brother alone while the rest of the family is hanging out, chilling, cooling in their living area. Because the only real downer at Nick's house this time of year, this particular day, is that his, first of all, absolute dickhead of a brother, 45-year-old David, keeps hoping that their dad will show up, because their dad alleged that he would pop by on Christmas and, say hi to his sons or whatever.
Pop by from France.
From France.
Maybe he's in town for work during the holiday and he's going to pop in.
You know what? I'm looking at this from an American perspective where I'm like, oh, maybe he was working. Shut up. They're Europe.
No, he's not. Yeah.
God, yeah. I'm pretty sure they throw you in jail if you make your office employees work on Christmas. I'm joking. But upon talking to David, when David is like, well, Dad said he was coming, Nick is like, yeah, David, he's not fucking coming. And Nick isn't trying to be a dick in this scenario. You can tell that he's a little bit exasperated, and that he's also kind of almost trying to offer David a lifeline. Hey, it sucks, but I'm here to tell you, both hands on the sides of your face with love in my eyes, he's not coming.
Try to enjoy Christmas.
Yeah, try to have fun. Look at the people that are here, that are actually here. Stop wishing that your dad was also here. And David is just yeah, go fuck yourself, because you've just been acting like you're a saint ever since your stupid little boyfriend stops eating every time he wants attention. It's just so unnecessarily mean, so unnecessarily vicious. David clearly has it in for Charlie, and I don't know if it's because Charlie's gay, although David definitely has pretty homophobic tendencies, or if it's that Charlie gets so much of Nick's attention and David is already feeling pretty pushed out, maybe by other members of his family because he sucks so much. It could be a mix of all of those things, but this perceived weakness that he sees in Charlie, that he thinks Nick is coddling or abetting or whatever, makes him act like such a dickhead. Just so fucking mean.
He needed to be punched in the face.
Oh, yeah. We needed Tori Spring to roll up and be is your phone in your hand? Not for long, it's not.
And I love that Nick just told him to go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah. He says, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
We see that Nick's Aunt Diane has been kind of loitering in the background of the scene, having an independent conversation. And when she hears shut the fuck up in sharp tones from Nick, she perks up and looks at both of them. And so this is clearly going to be the big stick in Nick's Christmas day, a day that was otherwise going really well. After this scene, we get a montage of all of the members of our beloved gang having their respective, I don't know if it's Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Paola, you can help me with this.
It's Christmas Day.
Christmas Day, thank you.
Yeah, because they said in the beginning of the episode.
Thank you. Yeah, Nadja, if you paid attention, you would fucking know.
You know, everyone's saying Merry Christmas.
Fuck off! You could say that on Christmas Eve. Anyway, honestly, that's my Latin American brain. I'm like, Christmas Eve's the big one, right? No.
Nope.
So we see the gang having their respective Christmas Day routines and celebrations. We see Darcy dressed in a very androgynous outfit with like a blazer and suspenders, and they're like, you know, close cropped on the sides, mullet, and their grandmother complimenting how handsome they look, which is like so fucking sweet. Just affirming, you know, their outfit, their identity. Look at your muscles. You're so strong. Like, come and help me. Like, because it's not about necessarily being feminine or masculine. It's just about being like a person. So the grandmother's just like, you look great. You're strong. Come help me.
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard it, I said that feels a bit masculine coded. And Darcy said it before that they don't believe in the idea of gender, or that they don't like the idea of gender. So that was weird. Did it stand out to you as like that was a bit mass coded?
I think the first time it stood out to me that the grandmother said handsome. But
handsome is gender neutral.
Yeah, handsome is, we use it typically to describe men, but it is gender neutral. And then I think like muscles and strength, the way that the grandmother said it, it felt like Darcy was like, ooh, like it felt like Darcy seemed like happy about what the grandmother was saying. So that's why it was like just taking it from like their reaction to the grandmother's comments. I was like, oh, then this was welcome.
The difference between how we saw, you want to talk about old people, but how we saw Charlie's grandparents react to him and Tori, right? Even criticizing Tori's haircut just because it's a haircut.
Yeah.
And how then we see Darcy's grandmother support them. Like, to say like, you know, because old people are old people and they can't change and they're stuck in the ways, like that's fucking bullshit. You're seeing a good example of that here.
Hell yeah. Obviously, the rewarding part of that relationship between Darcy and their grandmother is that Darcy wants to spend time with their grandmother. Duh. Yes. It's crazy how when people respect you, you want to be around them. It's wild.
Uh-huh. Look at that.
Darcy sends a selfie of their outfit in the gang's group chat. We see kind of like little text bubbles and stuff popping up at the bottom of the screen. Darcy, you look so good. You look amazing. Love your outfit. We see Tara cuddling with her mom, who is praising her accomplishments, saying how proud she's going to make all of them because she's going to go to Oxford and she's incredible. And Tara is like vibrating with anxiety. Her mom, again, objectively being very supportive and very doting and loving. And Tara's just like can't take the pressure.
And what's giving her pressure is causing her anxiety. Mm-hmm. Something that's not really brought up in this show a lot is race.
Yeah.
But as two women growing up in a family of color, there's definitely this pressure that you feel. You're not achieving for yourself. You're moving your family forward and bring your family forward. And I think that's something that is experienced so acutely in Black families and in families of color, because generally you're either the first one who went to college.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, you're generally the first one who went to college. Like in Nadja's case, she actually went to college before I did.
In fairness, I was the first one to go away to a 4-year school. That's not college, period.
True. And in Tara's case, it's not just college. We're talking about
Oxford,
Harvard
style.
We're talking about equivalent Ivy League schools. So the pressure doubles, and you get that sense. It's not just you doing this for you and, oh, your mom's just proud of you because you're doing good things. It's like you're moving us forward.
We see Tara kind of dealing with the anxiety of that just in her eyes. So that's some pretty good acting points on the actress who plays Tara. We cut to Imogen, who is sending cute selfies in the group chat of her in like a very Christmassy Elle Woods type outfit. And Sahar seeing the selfie and clearly being conflicted about what response to send, and then sending a "you look really cute" with a heart, and Imogen kind of like reacting to that message and being like, so that's gonna go somewhere weird. And not weird, it's just gonna go somewhere where they both feel weird, I should say. We see Isaac, who is drinking out of a precious fucking Christmas-themed mug, winter-themed mug, and reading a book, obviously. We see Tao and Elle having a really sweet interaction where they're at Tao's house and, you know, they get frisky. They eventually start to kiss. When the kissing kind of moves further than just normal kissing or normal making out, Elle kind of jumps and pulls away from Tao. because she's definitely having some conflicting feelings regarding her gender identity versus her physical self and how she feels inside of her body. So that's definitely something that we're going to touch on a little bit more, I think, throughout the series, but in this episode. So we cut back to Charlie's family, where Charlie's family seems to be having a competition on who can make the weirdest comments regarding his inpatient eating disorder care. One of his cousins asks if he met anyone, quote, really crazy, unquote. And then one of his uncles says, oh, but I can't imagine Christmas in a place like that. The stories you hear, straitjackets and padded rooms. And Charlie's like, they decorated it for Christmas. Like, it wasn't like that.
There's not even a question of like, hey,
what was it like?
Just straight to assumption. You can't keep yourself from talking about it because you can't mind your own fucking business. At least be considerate enough to say, hey, so how did it go? How was it for you? And let them tell you about their experience.
So after this interaction with his family members who are asking him about random assumptions they've made about the inpatient facility, he feels super awkward and leaves the room and ends up having a heated discussion with his mom about his eating that day.
Can I say real quick, though? I'm watching this as a sibling. Mm-hmm. Why the fuck did Tori not say some shit?
Tori and Charlie are very similar ages. And I think you're looking at this as an older sibling who's significantly older.
Maybe.
By the time I was like Charlie's age and I would have been subjected to questions like that, you were a whole adult. And I think you would have been like, no. No.
What the fuck are you guys talking about?
Literally. No. No. Nadja, don't answer that. No.
You're probably right. And she's just as uncomfortable.
Yes. So Charlie exits the room and goes to the kitchen where he runs into his mom. They get into a discussion because he's like, I just have to put up with my family making like shitty, misinformed comments about me all day. Like, what the fuck is that? And his mom, as Paola was saying earlier, is really just trying to get through the day. She's just like, we're going to have tea later. If you could just fucking chill out, then maybe we could just get through this day and everybody can go home and it'll be fine.
And she's just like, we just got to make it to tea time. And then it's almost over.
Yeah. Like, I cannot think about you right now. There are so many other things that I'm thinking about.
Well, no, she is thinking about
Well, yes, but I'm saying like,
she's worried about everything.
I can't I can't tackle this one problem when there are many other things to handle today.
Right. One of them, oh, by the way, you didn't eat your dinner. And this is, Mom, not the right time. This is not when you bring this up. You keep the conversations away from food, right?
It's like, bring it up the next day. Hey, I know you were probably feeling really stressed yesterday. I noticed maybe you didn't eat all your food. How are you feeling okay today? Are you really tired? Is there something you want to eat? Is there something you're like, something like that? But no.
Also, the goal isn't to eat all your food.
The goal is to eat
as much as he wanted to.
Yes.
And that was it. There was no...
You ate. That's kick-ass.
Don't pressure him about he didn't finish his plate. Yeah. Come on now. It was hard enough to get through some of that. And you know that this is not the time to bring that up. I feel her and like, I just needed the day to end and be done. Let's just get through it. But in that same breath, Mom, don't fucking bring this shit up right now.
Yeah.
This isn't the subject matter. It's also not the priority.
No.
It's not.
I got a little bit frustrated with Charlie in this scene. But again, as I mentioned, like as a former child and former teenager, there are so many parallels in how I would have reacted to something like this and how Charlie's reacting right on screen. Because he's pretty much like, you're treating me like a child. Like, you keep checking in, you keep asking me how I'm eating, like, but pretty much like everybody out there is being shitty to me. Like, that's not the thing that's being given importance. It's the way that I'm like reacting that's being given importance. I'm not like a baby. Like, I'm not like a dumb, mentally ill baby. And it's like, me as an adult, I'm in my 30s. I'm like, but you are a dumb, mentally ill baby. And that's okay. So am I. I'm 31. Dumb, mentally ill baby status doesn't go away. You carry that forever. But like, he's like...
But at the same time, he wants Mom to go, hey, can you go check on these people?
Yeah.
They're saying stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to put up with it. And it's like...
Because you not saying anything just makes it seem like you're on their side. Like, it just makes it seem like you're not advocating for me. He doesn't say that in so many words.
But also don't check on me a lot.
It's hard. I never said being a parent was easy.
Yeah, no, it's a hard balance. And I feel like that's what everyone's trying to do on this day. It's just like...
Get through it.
Take the good with the bad. And he teeters. It becomes too much.
Yeah.
For Charlie. And that's understandable.
Yeah, I mean, he lashes out. He's like, you guys are treating me like a dumb, mentally ill baby. And you know what? I'm not a child. And it's like, honey, you are. But He says, and he feels genuinely in his bones, and his 16-year-old bones, I'm not a child. And he turns around and storms out. He storms out and like goes to put his shoes on and is getting ready to get the fuck out. We know at this point, he's just going to run to Nick's. That's like where he goes when he's in turmoil. As Paola mentioned earlier, he's wearing Nick's blue Adidas sweatshirt. So Nick has already been kind of like a security blanket for the entire day for Charlie as he's facing his family. But now it's like becoming the literal, he needs to go get the physical Nick, right? Like having a sweatshirt on is not enough.
So apparently him visiting Nick's house was always going to happen, but like later in the night.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they make this explicit in the show or if they bring it up in the show, but this is just something in the book in winter, which is a short read, very short listen. If you get it on Audible, it's like an hour and a half. It's shorter than this podcast episode.
Shut up. God.
Anyway, so it was already planned, but he ends up just leaving in the middle of his family's Christmas because he just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Nick was always going to be a security blanket at the end of the day. He's done. He's overwhelmed. He needs a breather. I get that. I empathize with that. I hate how he left Tori behind.
Yeah.
In the same way that I feel like maybe Tori didn't stick up for him when his family was berating him with questions. In this moment, he's not thinking about Tori because he's getting ready to leave her there with the same family that just berated him with questions. And as I'm watching this, I'm like, go with her. Invite her with you. Why wouldn't she be able to go with you to Nick's house? And you both are able to kind of take a breather from this environment that's become a bit toxic. It bothered me that he just left her there. And she stood up for herself. She was even like, dude, you're leaving me here. I want to spend time with you. I want to spend Christmas with you.
I don't want to be stuck with these people.
And he was just like, well, sorry, I got to go.
Sorry, I'm going to do me.
Yeah. And that was fucked up because she's letting you know she's not going to be fine. And this is making her feel bad. He at no point was like, let's both go and get a breather. And he left her there crying. That pissed me off.
And as Paola and I were watching this together, as I was doing a rewatch, taking my notes, and she expressed kind of the same sentiment. You know, something that I said kind of on Charlie's behalf is like, you know, he is struggling with being around like the entirety of his family. And I feel like in his mind, it was a little bit of like, I need to get away from everyone. Everyone is somehow at fault here. Yeah. Even though we know as the viewer, and I'm sure Charlie knows as like the subject, that it's not Tori's fault, that she's trying her best, but obviously is like also a child and like can't fix their entire family by sheer will alone. So he's just kind of like, I need to get away from all of you. I'm not saying that's great. I feel like I've been in Tori's position only by virtue of like my siblings being older than me. And so they had different lives than I did. I just felt like I'm stuck here. I'm stuck here because I'm 14 or whatever. And all of you can get in your cars and drive away.
And go to work.
You can go to work. You can go pay taxes. God. No, but it was like, you can get in your cars. I'm thinking more of like, this is Christmas Eve. I'm thinking more like the context of New Year's.
Yeah. Oh, you guys go party and all of that.
New Year's was probably my worst holiday for like a long time because it was the holiday where we would have dinner together and then my siblings would bounce because they had places to be and people to see and people to kiss at midnight. And I was home with my parents having a miserable time. So that's an experience that I can empathize with as far as like Tori, because I too was home with my family and I was mad about it. So it sucks. Charlie's literally like, the fact that you can look at your sister as she's like crying and saying, don't leave me alone here. And you're just like, gotta go. Like that sucks.
Bye.
Yeah. Charlie arrives at Nick's house drenched because it's been raining and he literally flew out of his house without a coat, an umbrella, or a thought in his fucking brain, wearing the blue Adidas sweatshirt, which is now soaked. However, Nick welcomes Charlie inside. They have a big kiss and like hug a bunch, and then Nick's family's kind of behind them like woo woo woo, like Nick's family's just like very cute and like supportive. Nick takes him upstairs, like, let's get you out of these wet clothes because you're gonna, freeze to death. Charlie changes into another one of Nick's sweatshirts. This is also an Adidas sweatshirt, but this time it's like an orangey pink. It's no longer blue. Charlie has left the sadness of his own family Christmas behind, and he's entering the warmth and the higher environment of Nick's family Christmas. Once they're at Nick's, they're having a great time. They're playing Jenga with the little cousins. They're having buttered toast. They have little beverages. One thing that I did want to mention is that while Charlie is changing out of his wet clothes into Nick's dry ones, Nick is just standing there like a golden retriever. Like, he's just like, nice, awesome, you're here now. Change into these clothes.
Here's your shirt. Change now.
And Charlie's
I'll
like,
stand here.
Can you fucking turn around? Can you not watch me?
And he's almost confused. Nick is almost like,
what?
What do you mean?
I touch you with my hands. What do you mean?
I can't be in the room with you. I see you change in the locker room.
And so he's a bit surprised kind of at this like lack of intimacy. And I think the context of this is important because it's obviously like, it would be the first time, like you're saying, Nick has probably seen Charlie undress in the locker room. This would be the first time he's seeing him undress since he went into the inpatient treatment.
Yeah.
So it's been a few months, which in teenager time is like years. And Charlie's probably feeling way weirder about his body just because there's so much more pressure on him to think about it now than he did before.
A lot has happened since the last time they were in the rugby locker room.
Yeah, for sure.
And that has changed Charlie's relationship with his body.
Yeah. After this scenario, they have a lovely time at Nick's house. We see them again playing games, taking pictures, eating snacks, like a delicious piece of buttered toast. We love a bread cooked twice. So after, a little montage of merriment, Tori texts Charlie and says, I'm on my way to Nick's. I'm almost there. One thing I do want to mention is as she arrives and they go to the front door, David is waiting in the doorway of the front door of the house and just kind of like forlornly looking out onto the road. By this point, it's nighttime, right? It's dark. Like the days are short in the winter. And Nick is just kind of like, he's not going to come. And David is like, he said he was going to come. You and your stupid little fucking boyfriend are here, but dad said he was going to come. And Nick's like, yeah, okay. You feel like my heart really does squeeze in this moment for David, because who hasn't had that experience of needing somebody to be there for you and they let you down, right? Whether it's like a parent or a friend or a sibling or whatever.
I mean, it's not more disappointing than his mustache.
It's not more disappointing than that haircut. Baby, you're 45.
Oh my God.
You're Nick's father. So
you are the father.
You are the father. David. As he's still standing in the doorway of the house, Tori walks up. She has an umbrella on in all of her pseudo-goth girl glory. And David sees her and legit turns around and leaves.
Love it. Love it.
My man's like, she's not getting her feet on my phone. Never again. Nick and Charlie greet Tori at the door. They sit with her on the couch where she kind of keeps describing how the evening was going after Charlie left. She's pretty much like, yeah, Charlie, what the fuck? You left me there to fend for myself. Oliver's pissed because nobody's playing Mario Kart with him. The girls are acting fucking weird. The grandparents are being shitty. My aunt and uncle are doing this. And like, you're not even fucking there. What the hell? Nick and Tori, they're seated on either side of Charlie. Charlie is in the middle between them on the couch. And, they're kind of like, listen, when you're having a hard time, like, you just need to be able to talk to us. Because Charlie hasn't wanted to be transparent with Nick about why he was having a bad day. He just came over and was upset and was like, now I just want to have a good time. Even with Tori, it wasn't like I'm mad because. It was like he's getting tense, having a bad time, and then blows up on their mom and leaves instead of trying to have a moment with her where he can maybe decompress and calm down. So they're both kind of like, we'll be there for you if you just tell us that you're struggling with something. If you just tell us that you need help. You weren't talking, like you weren't communicating. And that's the issue. And Tori's like, I just wanted to spend time with you. Like, fuck this, right? Like, I hate Christmas. And Charlie has a moment where he's just like, no, you don't. And she goes, I hate this one. And that like broke my heart because I'm a person who really, really loves Christmas. Again, not in like the religious way, in the capitalism way.
It's the one day you support capitalism.
I don't support it. It's the one day that I participate more than begrudgingly. So
got it. Happily.
Shut up. I didn't say that. And I hate this one because any big holiday or birthday or big occasion, like you have this vision in your head of how you would ideally want it to go. This is clearly not meeting that bar for Tori. She couldn't even have a good day with her brother. He fucking left. Then what's the benefit of the day? After that scene, we cut back to Tao and Elle, after they've spent their entire, Christmas day together following their heated and, somewhat like aborted makeout sesh where they abruptly stopped. They step outside and have an open conversation about Elle's feelings during this makeout and why she was feeling so maybe like taken aback or uncomfortable or, apprehensive about continuing to quote unquote do more, right? Like physically in their relationship. And Tao's like, I don't think about whether or not you're trans, right? Like that's not the thing that I'm thinking about when I think about like being with you. I just really like you. And Elle, understandably, is like, yeah, I mean, I get that you're not thinking about that, but that's like a huge part of me that I am trans. And it's obviously a huge part of my body and like who I am in this body. Right. So it is something that I think about a lot. And I'm just going to have to get comfortable with that. Like, this is just going to have to be like a work in progress.
And I think Tao says that kind of like well-meaning, obviously, like, oh, I don't even think of you as trans, right? Like,
I don't even think of you as black
to me. Ooh. So, and that's exactly how that hits.
Yeah.
Where you think you're saying it well-meaning, and it's like, no, I am trans. Your girlfriend is trans.
Yeah.
That makes our experience
very different,
special and specific and different.
Yeah.
Don't not look at me as I'm trans. Look at me as the trans person that I am and honor what this journey means to me and how this has to be approached differently than somebody who's not trans. So that was important to hear for her to say, that's lovely, but this is who I am, and kind of asserting her pride in who she is. I love them both so much in this scene because it's so vulnerable. It's such a vulnerable scene for the both of them, as in any relationship, but especially this relationship where she's getting ready or considering exposing herself in a very different way. Like anytime you're getting ready to get intimate with a partner, but there's so many more layers of that identity for her. So just the care Tao shows for her, has always shown for her since the beginning. Now as a romantic partner really shines the way that he just cares and takes his time, and it's a very sweet scene. It was a moving scene to watch them having this conversation. Also, they're like the most attractive couple. Holy shit. Like,
they're both so tall and
height,
statuesque.
Like height, both statuesque, like face card does not decline on either end.
Endless lines of credit right here.
Oh my God.
No, they really are incredible looking. Every single time Elle comes on screen, I just turn to Paola and I'm like, oh my God, she's so pretty. Holy shit.
Tao's hair, I'm like, oh my God.
Give it to me.
So handsome.
Yeah.
Look at you guys. Look at you guys.
They're so great looking.
Thriving.
And after this really sweet scene, we see that Charlie heads back home with Tori. Underneath kind of a montage, he has a conversation with his parents where they clearly kind of patch things up. Everybody hugs and they seem to kind of reach a consensus. And we see him play a few games of Mario Kart with Tori and their cousin Oliver, who's a little sweet baby bean. A week later, so a little time jump, we see the gang reunite again. So the full gang for a New Year's Eve party at whose house? We have no fucking idea.
It's Harry's party.
It's Harry's party? That fucking makes sense because Harry's family's supposed to have a bunch of money.
And would have fucking fireworks.
Literally. And would set off fireworks and like have a fire pit in their yard. Yeah. So it's Harry's party. But it's the kind of thing where it's kind of like, hey, party, everybody's going to be there. So everybody just fucking pulls up.
I mean, look, I feel like the gang in season 2 would have never stepped into another Harry party.
You think Harry's turned to Paige?
Look at us now. Maybe Harry's turned to Paige.
Let's hope.
Maybe.
Let's hope there's redemption for Harry.
We haven't seen much of like his bullshit this season.
Everyone is elated to see Charlie again, and they're all so proud of him. Everybody's like, it's a lot of squealing and hugging, and it's really, really cute. It is a little strange, though. It kind of stuck out to me and Paola that they haven't seen him at all since he got back. So if he got back from his inpatient just before Christmas and he's had Christmas, he's obviously seen Nick. It's like there's like a week between Christmas and New Year's. And if they're all more or less high school students, then what would they have been up to for that week? They're off school.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Like they saw him for the first time at a party.
Yeah. Like Nick coming back from Menorca and the first time he sees Charlie's at school. Like, what? So that kind of stuck out. It seems a little strange that they didn't spend any time together between then. But anyway, they're all elated to see him. And he catches up with all his friends as they party. Everybody's having a really good time. Sahar tries to act cool around Imogen, even though she's still mad about what happened after their Halloween kiss. They have a couple of moments where they make a couple jokes about Imogen drinking champagne, and then a guy pulls her off to dance, and we immediately see Sahar's face fall. So you're like, all right, well, there's like a lot more to that, obviously. We see Darcy talking to another friend who we've met before, Felix, who's one of Elle's friends from Lambert, about, feeling non-binary, feeling like they, can't really ascribe themselves to being within the confines of a gender. Felix is also non-binary and is super helpful to Darcy of just like, yeah, have fun with your gender. Like, things aren't supposed to be difficult and terrible and traumatic and hard. Just like have fun and have a good time. Tao and Elle spend a while dancing on the dance floor as little animated sparks appear around them. So that's something fun that I think that the show has done, taken the animated motif of like lightning strikes and little sparks and like these buzz sounds and kind of putting them behind characters when they're feeling like attraction, like to each other or like the beginnings of like sexual feelings because they're obviously teenagers. I think that's a very artful way.
Sexual feeling.
Okay. So
I love it because they still use their own little animation.
Yeah.
So
they each get their own motif.
That for Elle and Tao specifically is the butterflies.
Yeah.
So you see the butterfly, but like in neon. It's neon and it's zappy. Their chemistry is more charged because they desire each other.
Yeah.
And so I like how they're kind of painting that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. We see Elle talk to Naomi. So another friend from Lambert, a friend who happens to also be a trans woman, about her body dysphoria and how, she wants to kind of go further with Tao and she knows that she loves Tao and trusts him and they've known each other for a really long time, but she just doesn't really know how to take that step with her body and how she feels about her body. And this is a meaningful conversation because, again, Naomi is also a trans woman. If she hasn't gone through something like this already, she will be going through it when she's dating or when she has a long-term partner of any gender. These will be kind of like experiences that she and Elle will have in common in their futures. Instead of Elle just like talking to anybody else and having anybody else be like, that's fine, he loves you. She's talking to someone who is much more invested in like how that experience is going to go. And Absolutely. Feels a lot more of themselves, kind of like heightened in that experience.
Yeah. And I think it also emphasizes the need for peers, right? For people within your community that you can sound off on, right? Like we are having, like you said, similar experiences. What's your take on this? What has your experience been with this specifically? I love how for her, what she says is like, it all comes down to trust.
Yeah.
Like, you guys love and trust each other.
Naomi assures her Tao will understand and that it's okay to feel scared as she's moving through this process, obviously for the first time. They hug. It's very sweet. We see Charlie and Nick hanging out outside. What is the weather like in England around Christmas and New Year's? I need to know because the way these people are running outside in sweatshirts, Elle's midriff has been absolutely everywhere. No one has umbrellas. No one has coats. Everyone's wearing like a denim jacket. What is the weather like in England?
This must be like the same New Year's that Harry
from when Harry met Sally was eating ice cream, walking downtown.
Outside.
You're right.
Yeah.
No, you're 100% right.
It has to be a very similar.
Because I'll tell you something right now. I am in New Jersey today and there is snow outside and you are off your ass if you think I'm gonna be walking outside in a sweatshirt and no coat. You think I'm fucking crazy?
Yeah.
It's 20 degrees. Oh my God. Okay, whatever, it's fine.
It's warmer. It's a warm winter.
It's famously warm and dry in England. Okay. So Nick and Charlie, without appropriate outerwear, are hanging out next to a fire pit outside of this party. They share a really sweet moment where Nick leans into Charlie's side and they're both kind of saying like, hey, after the fireworks, after the big New Year's countdown, like I'm ready to leave. Like I'm ready whenever you are, right? Classic couple conversation when you're out at a function. Nick leans into Charlie's side and says, okay, like I just need a little time to recharge before the fireworks go off. Charlie's like, recharge? Like, the fireworks are going off in like 10 minutes. And Nick is like, yeah, exactly. I'm recharging right now. And he's just like, as he's like burrowed into Charlie, it's like very mature and like cute. It's like, you're not 17. Sweet. You're 30. Like, I don't know. That's just so sweet.
The first time we saw him do that was in Paris.
Yeah.
Where he kind of just leans on him. Like, I'm just recharging. It's like, oh, you are so cute.
That's so fucking cute. Tori joins them outside. And Charlie asks her where all her friends are. And she replies, they're off being fun and cheerful. Ugh. Charlie tells her that one day she'll actually be friends with people she likes being around. Tori responds, the only person I care about is you.
Aww.
And that makes me have so many feelings.
What feelings?
Crying feelings.
Crying feelings? It's very sweet. Are you crying right now?
Why are you making that sound? Shut up.
Oh, if you're crying, it's going to make me cry. No, Stop it.
I cry all the time.
That's very sweet. This was me literally through my late teens. Like, I only have you, Nadhya.
Oh, that's not true.
You're the only one I love right now.
I'm sure if other people...
absolutely
I can count other people that would have heard you say that and felt very sad.
This, I can relate with Tori very hard in very specific aspects of my life where I felt like you didn't have anyone and you couldn't relate to anyone. There was like people were distancing themselves from you, or you were distancing yourself from people, especially because I settled down and started a family very early.
Yeah.
A lot of my friendships changed and they become more distant, and they're off doing young people things and I'm off doing old people things. And really... who I can always count on was Nadhya, always there. No matter what age, she was always there. The distance was only ever physical. So great, we're gonna both cry.
Awesome. Great, cool.
Yeah, so I feel Tori here in my heart,
my soul.
You're the only person I care about. Although I did care about my children.
Yeah, I was going to say, your husband would be very upset to hear what you just said.
But it's different.
That doesn't mean I'm not going to show it to him. But
it's different and you know it.
Just so I can remind him, like, hey, I was here before you.
I'm the captain of the ship. Always.
I'm the captain now. Look at me.
Oh my God. You know what? He knows it though, because I remember I was writing my wedding speech and it starts off with Nadhya is my soulmate. And he was like, okay. It's like, I get it.
I think
I get it.
I said to Ryan, one time I was just talking to Ryan, like, you know, vaina, boca guab, just like, I love you so much, you're the best. And I was like, you're my best friend in the whole world. And he was like, no, I'm not. That's your sister. But it's okay.
It's okay. Second to me is still a pretty good position.
Literally, he was like, it's fine. I'm not upset. Second place, I get it. And I was like, as long as you know, and we're transparent about it. And Charlie replies when Tori says that won't be true forever, and takes her hand. Aww. They share a very sweet moment. Harry calls around for like the first time we've seen him at all in season 3. He's like, everybody come outside for the fireworks. That's Harry. So then we see people kind of start to mill around outside. Imogen and Sahar kind of awkwardly stand next to each other as they're waiting for the countdown to start and the fireworks to be set off. Sahar says scornfully, we haven't spoken properly since Halloween, and now you're here to kiss me at midnight? Like, typical.
Oof.
And Imogen replies, I'm not here for that. And she apologizes for what happened at Halloween, the aftermath, like feeling weird about kind of what happened between them. And Sahar tells her, I don't want to be just an experiment to you. Not when you're the reason I realized I was bi in the first place.
Aww.
Big eye emojis because, girl, what? And Imogen is like, what? And Sahar's like, yeah.
Newsflash.
Newsflash, bitch. Yeah, like...
That says a lot.
Yeah.
She really put it out there. She really was just like, this is how I feel. This is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of like, you do with that what you will. And now Imogen, who honestly, when she's like, you know, I didn't come here for that. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no, you just came here for attention. Because honestly, like, I feel like that's what she gets. She gets the satisfaction from getting like lovey-dovey attention from Sahar.
Yeah.
And you don't know if she reciprocates it. Like, you can't tell.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's us as the viewers, so that's Sahar's feelings. Like, I don't know. She has no idea where Imogen stands. So if shit was real and it's real, this is what it is. What are you going to do about it?
And Imogen is kind of left like dumbfounded. We cut to inside the party where Tori, I wrote meets a new friend, but that's not really what happens. She runs into, like kind of bumps into a young man that we've never seen before. And as they make and hold eye contact, snowflakes float between them on screen. So snowflakes are clearly a motif that we're going to come to associate with Tori. After they kind of hold eye contact with each other, she runs off.
Turns around and keeps it moving.
Shakes it off.
And it's funny to see that play out right after she just had this conversation with Charlie that was like, you know, you're going to find somebody who you like to spend time with. I'm not going to be the only person you care about forever.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, Tori, we haven't seen you look at anybody like that up until this point. So
that's something.
That's something.
As the countdown begins, the couples usher in the new year with a kiss. We see Isaac joined by James, who assures him, I'm not here to kiss you. I just really don't want to be alone at midnight.
I thought that was so funny. Like, James, like, listen, before you think anything, I'm here.
Because Isaac's face is like, oh no. And then James is like, fucking relax.
Yeah.
Chill out.
I'm here platonically.
Yeah. They're joined by a group of other friends as the countdown goes off, and they sing Auld Lang Syne with arms around each other. This is like my white person dream. This is what I thought having white friends would mean for me, and it's not.
Wait, you guys don't sing Auld Lang Syne?
We don't put our arms around each other in a circle and sing Auld Lang Syne. You and I sing Auld Lang Syne together.
Yeah.
We know most of the words.
We need the group experience.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Nobody else seems to want to sing Auld Lang Syne with us.
Now you fucking get it. Because no one else knows the song.
What does the song mean anyway?
Oh, God, stop. Harry Met Sally. As the countdown is starting to go off, Elle seemingly decides to either have sex or just move forward further into their sexual relationship with Tao as she pulls him into a room somewhere inside the party house. Just some abandoned room.
Choice.
Insane choice.
Wild choice. The first time with your boyfriend in
New Year's
somebody's in a random house in a random room. Like,
I'm so good.
Listen, the sparks were flying because
from what I've been told,
yeah,
teenage hormones are no joke.
From what I've been told,
I was too much of a big fucking nerd when I was in high school, so I didn't get to experience that.
The sparks are going off while the fireworks are going off. You know, all the symbolism.
As the countdown goes on, we get to midnight. Charlie and Nick kiss. Imogen and Sahar kiss again after the countdown. It seems as though, fingers crossed, the new year is off to a promising start. Tori watches, again, kind of from like a little distance outside of the main group of partygoers, as Nick and Charlie share their New Year's kiss and smiles softly while walking away from the main crowd at the party, drinking a beverage through a straw because she's a hydrated queen. And that is how we wrap up episode 5.
You know what I took from that scene? She looks at Charlie in his boyfriend's arms, like having a nice time. And I feel like she feels okay. He'll be okay. I can be okay. And like the fireworks are going off behind her and she's walking off. She can leave in that moment behind and then she can move forward. Not that she's leaving Charlie behind, but leaving a pained Charlie behind, I feel like. Even though he's still going through, this is a journey. He's still going through, nothing's ended, but she's seeing the progress, I guess.
I also think it's her acknowledging that Charlie has a support system that she doesn't have. Okay. Like Charlie's her person that she cares about. You assume she cares about her parents, but Charlie has this like big friend group that is very supportive and caring and a very dedicated boyfriend who's very supportive and caring. So that's the thing that she can take comfort in. Like, just because I'm not here doesn't mean Charlie's alone, because he's not alone.
Yeah, and you can see that giving her comfort as she moves forward, which I think it was a nice shot and very symbolic in what we continue to see in the next episodes. Go Tori. So going into the next episode, it opens on a therapy session between Charlie and his therapist, Jeff. It is now April. So it's been 4 months.
This season loves a time jump.
Dude, when I talk, last season was like a week, 2 weeks max. This season, it's been a year. We're moving through time. We're dancing through life. It is now April. It is now April. And so it's been 4 months since our last episode where we left Charlie and Nick making out under the fireworks. And Jeff is pointing out that it has been 4 months since Charlie has left his inpatient care. That is something that should be celebrated. He is trying to convince Charlie to consider this a milestone deserving of recognition. Charlie does not seem to feel confident in his progress. Jeff has to kind of help him along to list 3 bits of progress that he's made since January. Like, okay, 3 specific things that are better now than they were January. With this, the show gives us a bit of exposition by way of some flashbacks of what's happened in the last 4 months. We see him return to school. Everyone is super warm and welcoming and excited. Even his rugby mates welcome him back very warmly and excitedly. Mr. Farouk reaches out to him, offers him support in class. If you need anything, I'm here. We see Mrs. Singh reach out to him during rugby practice, encouraging him to take breaks, encouraging him to check on himself. You know, all the adults are in tune and looking out for Charlie. Mm-hmm. This is a great thing and this is a positive thing, but he uses it to kind of downplay his progress by saying, yeah, well, I didn't do it alone.
Good. You shouldn't.
That's the point. You should not do it alone. Nobody progresses by themselves. It always takes help. And that in itself, that you do have a support system, is a positive development. And then he goes on to critically mention a moment of relapse that he had just 2 weeks after returning to school. And through a brief flashback, we see an argument between him and Nick. The first time we've ever seen them argue, as they seemingly argue about Charlie's food. Nick is pushing him to eat. This is obviously triggering Charlie and makes him feel bad. And Charlie, like he does in the situation like this, lashes out at Nick, and Nick turns around and leaves, leaving Charlie alone. And this is a scenario that took place in Tori's book Solitaire. It's taken right from the book Solitaire. They don't show this part in the series, but Oliver, the little brother, is the one that's like, where's Charlie? And this makes Tori kind of come downstairs and finds Charlie in the kitchen, upset. And trigger warning, as we're talking about self-harm, finds him with bloodied fingers after he has been harming himself. Mm-hmm. So in the book, this is a very heavy moment. They don't show that in the series, which I don't think they needed to. We got the gist of what was going on emotionally and physically for Charlie. She calls Nick to confront him about how he's made Charlie feel and leaving him alone. As soon as Nick realizes what happens, he rushes back to Charlie's house to comfort him. And this is the part we see in the flashback where Nick runs into his room and they hug and apologize to each other, while Tori looks on, crying from the doorway.
That's so scary.
It is very scary. And again, as this show does, they show it in a way that you understand exactly what happened without having to show anything explicit. Mm-hmm. So Jeff explains that a relapse is normal. You're going through trauma. This is normal. And guess what? That happened 3 months ago. Mm-hmm. So you've been 3 months clean without any incidents. And that should be celebrated as progress. Mm-hmm. And then the third bit of progress is brought up by Charlie himself. For him, that is his relationship with Nick. He feels that he and Nick feel a lot closer after Nick has seen him at what he believes to be his absolute fucking worst, rock bottom. And of course, this triggers some very lovey-dovey flashbacks of some deep makeout sessions between Nick and Charlie, as Jeff suggests that him having more energy for his relationship is also a sign of progress. And Charlie goes on to say that he still feels like he has a long way to go. Even goes on to say that he doesn't want to be defined by this trauma. Or as he tries to downplay it, bullied at 14 and had one toxic ex-boyfriend is how he downplays his trauma. And Jeff reminds him that trauma doesn't necessarily define you, but it also doesn't just vanish. It just informs your decisions. He doesn't say that. I'm saying that, but that's what trauma does. So give yourself some grace, he says.
No.
No, I will not. This is the first time we see him in a full-on outpatient session with Jeff, and we already stand with Jeff. We get our title card, Body, in dark purple, as we see the shadow of the letters turn into dark gray scribbles. And anytime the show gives us anything in dark purple, we know it's not good. We know it's not good. It's not going to be a fun time. Directly after our title card, we see Elle in her amazing art class working on a beautiful self-portrait. Her teacher walks up to her to tell her about a possible interview opportunity. Because she has been recognized through her social media platform, and a local radio station wants to interview the quote-unquote local young artist that achieved internet fame.
Ugh. Local radio station.
So Elle says she's going to think about it. We see Nick arriving at Troom as the headmaster, Stephen Fry, announces that spring is in full bloom.
Lol.
And spring is in full bloom as Nick makes his way past the music room when the score that has been playing in the background turns into the sounds of Charlie's drumming. I thought that was a very cool transition in that scene. So Nick peeks into the music room, and it is indeed him. He walks in, lifts up his boyfriend, and wishes him a happy birthday as he spins him around the room, as he loves to do.
Fresh.
They're cute. They're adorable.
Yeah, they are.
Nick pulls Charlie's present from his back pocket, and it is 2 tickets to go see Charlie's favorite Instagram famous historian, Jack Maddox, who he not so secretly thirsts for, and we'll understand why when we get there, along with Nick. They share a happy birthday kiss that quickly turns into a hot and heavy makeout session against the wall. They feel some stuff's happening. So Charlie abruptly cuts their makeout session before anything comes up, right before they have to head out to form group. And this is funny because they both have formed together. But instead of Nick going with Charlie, he kind of lets Charlie go ahead while he gets himself together.
It's giving red room makeout in red, white, and royal blue.
Yeah, okay, that just happened. All right, you go ahead. I'm going to need a minute. In the next scene, Charlie is looking for something to wear while Isaac and Tao hang out on his bed. So now they're back home. It is Charlie's birthday.
Aww.
They're getting ready for his birthday party. He starts to tell them about how he and Nick's makeout session have been getting more and more intense. And Tao and Isaac share the silliest little look between the both of them. Tao asks, have you considered taking things further? And so, guys, tag yourself. I'm Isaac because Isaac, in case Tao wasn't clear enough, has to clarify, he's talking about having sex.
Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you for the clarification.
I thought he meant distance.
Isaac is my spirit animal. And for further proof that Isaac is my spirit animal, when Charlie's of course, it's obvious we both want to. And, it's all been over the clothes. But sometimes when we make out, he gets interrupted by Tao, who's no details, please. And Isaac's no, what? I want the details. Give me the details. What do you mean? TMI. I want the TMI. TMI means tell me immediately now.
That's very funny.
Charlie expresses that he's nervous that Nick is not going to feel ready to take it there yet, and that he himself won't really know what he's doing anyway. And then he turns to the mirror and just looks at himself, feeling self-conscious of his perceived body image. We already saw him not wanting to take his shirt off at the beach, so we already know the discomfort he feels around his body. Tao starts to share his cinematic experience with Elle on New Year's nights on a stranger's bed as Charlie hilariously tries to kick them out of his room. I love this thing. I love seeing a fun Tao and Isaac moment. So it was cute to see their dynamic together again. We haven't seen just the 3 of them together in a long time.
Yeah.
Once the boys are out of his room, he starts to change. He begins to contemplate his body and scars in front of the mirror. And you feel for him as he starts grappling with how his body has probably changed during the past couple of months and during the worst of his struggles, especially as he's working to get through and pass this moment in his life. As he's on this journey, he has this physical reminder every time he gets stressed. So I really feel for him in this moment. He throws on a cute green setup and heads down for his birthday party. The whole gang is there. There's alcohol everywhere. And they're already making jungle juice. While Charlie hasn't even been done giving the disclaimer yet, they're already making jungle juice. His parents are out. He's just like, please try not to throw up anywhere. Just keep it chilling, cool. Dude, the legal drinking age in UK is 18. So Tori must have went and got them all liquor.
Oh.
Honestly.
If she's already
Because
18.
how'd they get this? Or is this like the stash? Is this the household stash? It's about to be chaotic. Isaac's shady ass. So Charlie gives this disclaimer. Everybody please don't get drunk and fucking throw up everywhere. Isaac shady ass goes, I think you should direct that to Imogen.
God damn, Isaac.
Isaac.
Attempt to miss.
No, he does not miss. Shots fired at all times. Surprisingly, though, it's not Imogen who we see kicking back shots right away. It's Tara, as she is trying to drink her pressures away.
Don't like that.
She just says that she needs a night off of everything. This, to her, is how she's going to quiet her brain from the stress and the pressure that she feels around her academics and everything that she's trying to accomplish. And, you know, I'm going to go ahead and get ahead of myself here, but I'll just say this now. At this point, I really thought that they were going to give her, like, the teenage alcoholic starter pack.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that they didn't. I was very relieved when they didn't continue this past this episode. We didn't see this come up again.
I think if this was an American TV show, that's what would have happened.
I don't know if this was something in the writer's room. They were like, no, we're not going to do that to Tara.
Yeah.
But this was the last episode that we see her kind of trying to drink her stress away, which good. They all sing happy birthday to Charlie with the most adorable blue and yellow cake with 16 candles on it. Imogen comments that she's the one that made the cake after everybody's complimenting it. He blows all his candles and even has a piece of his cake with Nick standing by for support. A visitor comes to the door. For the second time, we see this kid that Tori bumped into at the New Year's party. Interesting. So this is now Tori's new friend, who we meet as Michael. Michael was originally introduced in Alice Oseman's Solitaire. So again, we're seeing more pieces of that book play into this episode. As we meet him, he is delightfully quirky, definitely neurodivergent, or as I like to say, just divergent. And
you're so annoying. She just wants to end up with 4 from Divergent.
He tells Charlie that 16 is when everything starts to make sense, and then backtracks and says, or when nothing makes any sense anymore, and then settles with, beautiful feeling either way. So we love him. Beautiful chaos is what he says.
Wow.
You know, I respect it.
I love that.
And I think I love it. Yeah, I love that. So yeah, we already like him. He gives Charlie a cat figurine that he found at a thrift shop because he felt that it had Charlie's energy. So
that's fucking hysterical.
Hilarious. After he gives Charlie the Charlie energy cat, Tori comes and kind of grabs him and whisks him away upstairs. And I think it's Tao or Elle is like, are they boyfriend and girlfriend? And Charlie's like, I'm not sure. And I don't know who was the first one to initiate a meow, but then they all meow after each other, and it's very funny. And that scene was improvised. I saw that in an interview, and I was like, that's hilarious.
I love them. I hope they're all friends.
I think they are.
Okay, good.
So for this birthday, they all set up tents outside and paired up together. Like, how freaking cute. This is the cutest birthday party idea. Like, I want to do this for my next birthday. I want to do this for my 37th birthday. Also, is UK in April, like, warm enough for this? To, like, be sleeping outside? Because it's definitely not warm enough for this here in the northeast of the States.
Yeah, I don't fucking know, dude.
Either way, they're all having a blast, getting wasted over Olivia Rodrigo's Good For You. Tori and vibes, all vibes. Tori and Michael just watch from afar as they both sip their drinks. Look at them.
Hydrated, king and queen.
As the evening comes, they're all sitting around talking about university and where they're all planning on going and what they're going to do with their futures. Darcy definitely wants to take a gap year. They express that they love staying with their gran.
I love that.
After everything they've been through, love that for Darcy. And you know what? Maybe you deserve a fucking gap year because, gosh, helps you get it together. Sahar wants to study history while Imogen says that she wants to study politics. Nick has no clue. He just knows he wants to stay local. So this conversation immediately starts to stress Tara out. And when Sahar turns to her and brings up the Oxbridge program that Tara is in, she loses it and runs inside the house. Charlie recognizes that she's having a panic attack and immediately jumps in to calm her and help her feel safe, help her regulate her breathing by mimicking, letting her know where she is, and does successfully help calm her down. Obviously, he's been picking up some of these strategies from going to therapy and probably seeing this happening. Once Darcy comes and stays with Tara, Charlie feels comfortable leaving them together and he goes off with Nick, who is thoroughly impressed at his amazing boyfriend. It's so cute how proud and amazed he is. And Charlie at this moment admits that he is completely drunk. And so Nick walks him to the kitchen for some water. By the way, Charlie is looking at Nick. He don't want no water. He don't want no water. Charlie starts to tell him that he really likes him. Don't ever leave me. And Nick, understanding that he's wasted, just chuckles and literally like grabs him and like sets him aside. Like, okay, stand right here.
Okay, sweetie.
Okay, baby. Grabs him by the arms and is kind of like, stay right here. I'm going to go get you water. It's very sweet. But Charlie calls him over. He's like, hey, come here. And Charlie very awkwardly starts to tell him that he's been thinking about doing things. What things? Says Nick. What things? I'm so confused. What can you mean? Sir, get with the program. He wants to have sex with you.
Él es manso. He's a little sweetie.
Charlie tells him that he thinks about it all the time. Nick says that he wasn't ready in Paris, but he feels ready now. So Charlie invites him upstairs. Sir, Charlie, sir. But Nick, bless his heart, he is a gentleman raised by a lady because he just looks at him and says, Char, you're incredibly drunk.
He is. Nick is right.
And Charlie follows that up with something that made me really sad. He says that when he's sober, he's scared of how he'll probably look at him, or that's what he would have said. But before he could finish his sentence, he has to run to the bathroom to puke. So,
yeah, no, I think Nick made the right choice, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Nick knew it wasn't the right time. Even though Charlie's giving him consent and telling him this is what he wants to do, he knows that Charlie's under the influence and he might feel differently in the morning. Mm-hmm. That's not a decision you make, especially for the first time when you're drunk.
Yeah, agree.
And we get this funny cut to the next morning of Tara getting up and running out of her tent to do the exact same thing.
Oh my God.
As Darcy runs after her to help her hold her hair back. It's very funny the way they cut that. So the next morning, as everyone is waking up from their tent sleepover, adorable, guess who else slept over? Mr. Michael, Tori's friend that she insists is just a friend.
They're precious because they really just end up taking on the role of parent at this sleepover. Like, they're like, you guys hungry? You need snacks? Everyone good? Like, it's so funny. They're 1 year older than Nick. It's so goofy.
The green flag shot up for me when he's like, it looks like you guys can use some eggs on toast. I'm going to make everybody eggs on toast. I'm like, adorable.
He's a cutie.
Adorable, helpful. Love it. So everyone gets up. Everybody's getting ready for the day. Nick actually reminds Charlie about the things he said the night before, maybe to see if he remembers. Hey, do you remember what you said last night? And Charlie's like, oh, shit. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. But Nick has said, no. I'm glad you brought it up. So this is going to continue to be an ongoing conversation for them. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of things going on this day. This is the day that Nick got the tickets to go see Jack Maddox. And Charlie's going to finally get to meet him. And also, this is the day of Elle's interview, which she confirmed to Tao during the party that she decided that she was definitely going to go do. So first, let's talk about Elle's interview. She is accompanied by Tao and both her parents. They are all oozing with pride as she gets ready to do this radio interview. She's visibly nervous, but she's encouraged by the support that she feels from Tao and her parents. Tao made sure to bring his camcorder to document her first interview and everything that's going on. And the radio show is called Local Voices with Katie Newman. And it turns out that Katie Newman is a fucking bitch. She ends up using Elle's art and identity to blindside a 17-year-old Elle into a political debate without prep or approval. This woman used a teenager's exposure and identity and weaponized it against her for her ratings. This woman brings up a conversation that she had with a previous guest on the show about gender-neutral bathrooms and asks Elle how does she feel about the debate surrounding trans people using said bathrooms. Elle, being the fucking gem that she is, simply states, trans people are not a debate. They're human beings. And when that should have been the end of that conversation, Katie fucking Newman continued to press, citing a comment some other speaker made about gender-neutral bathrooms being a threat to women's safety. And she says this as if the person in front of her doesn't identify as a woman herself, and as if her own life and safety is not constantly put into question through the debate, quote unquote, around gender neutral bathrooms.
The belief that trans women shouldn't be allowed into quote unquote biological women's bathrooms, they're terms that people use in this ridiculous fucking debate, that belief comes out of the inherent fear of men.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is an inherent, perpetual, just a species wide of humankind fear of men. Not only are women afraid of men are afraid of men. We assume men are lying about gender so that they can get into bathrooms and assault women. And that is not about fucking trans women, dude. That is about a society that aids and abets violence in men.
Absolutely. The problem is
fucking men. Not all men, but a lot of them.
Yeah, no, the problem is predatory men. And instead of having that conversation, they use trans lives as a debate and a weapon.
In the United States, a country of 340 million people, you're making huge countrywide discourse for the vast majority of people in this country who have never met someone who's trans, who have never even heard someone who's trans speak, seen them in person. Like, it's just making new boogeymen. When, again, what we are afraid of are just men. It's not trans women. Honestly, for a lot of these conversations, you almost never hear people citing trans men, like AFAB to male trans men. You almost never hear people discussing their safety in a fucking bathroom, and I would argue that they're less safe than women, trans women in women's bathrooms. Why? Because what we are meant to fear as a fucking society are men. Rogue, lawless, insane, patriarchal, predatory fucking men.
Absolutely. So Elle rightfully points out that whatever speaker made these comments is transphobic. The interviewer, sensing Elle's tension, mentions she will move on from the topic and moves on to asking a teenager what she thinks about a potential law requiring teachers to inform parents about their pronouns. At this point, Elle has noticed that in the green room, her parents are equally blindsided and are now yelling at the producer or agent of this show. You can see her father is trying to gauge what to do. While Tao is asking him, should we go in? Should we stop the show? He's kind of like looking at Elle. He's looking at his wife. He's trying to figure out what to do. Elle realizes she doesn't feel safe in this situation and has to get herself out of the situation because everyone's caught up in the logistics of how this interview came to happen. She takes it upon herself to remove herself from the situation. She is polite enough to excuse herself, which is more than that dumb bitch deserved, and walks out of the studio into her father's arms in tears. Elle's mom threatens the show's producer or rep, and they all leave. And this is something that we touched on briefly, or maybe more than briefly, in our Sisflix hit clips. But now more than ever, it is so important to stick up for trans lives. Their lives and existence are being questioned and challenged at the highest level of our government. Quite literally, right after the election. We saw the first trans woman being elected as a congresswoman, and just as quickly, within weeks, they were lobbying to remove gender neutral bathrooms.
They were lobbying basically to ban her from the women's bathrooms,
which is complete bullshit. And this type of attack coming from the highest level of our government will only heighten discrimination against trans lives and other members of the LGBTQ community. And just as Nadhya said, the problem isn't trans people. The problem is predatory men. And they can't address the problem of predatory men when we have one leading this country. Have the awkward conversation. Make the awkward counter argument. Challenge people's prejudice. Don't let transphobia and homophobia go unaddressed around you. And not everybody's in a safe environment to be confrontational. My favorite response now, Nadhya and I joke about this shit all the time, is, wow, I'm so surprised you felt comfortable saying that. Wow.
Wow, what a choice.
Wow, what a choice to say that to me.
Such an interesting thing to say.
This is, if you don't feel you're in a safe environment to have a confrontation or have the awkward conversation, you know that's not going to get you anywhere. I love responding with these because it makes the person know you said the wrong thing to the wrong person. And you should think about what you just said. Well, to help cleanse our palate, immediately after this, we see Nick and Charlie arrive to Jack Maddox's talk and signing. And Nick starts feeling a bit jealous and self-conscious over how fond Charlie is of this Jack Maddox. That is until said speaker and presenter walks in and he, like the rest of us, see the gorgeous man that is Jonathan Bailey.
Hello. Oh.
Speaking of queer excellence, okay?
For y'all that are late to this fucking show, and I don't mean the show that is Heartstopper, I mean the show that is Jonathan Bailey. I was late to Jonathan Bailey in that I'm an American and he was on like British TV shows and stuff that I had never seen. Bridgerton season 1. I've been on this shit since Bridgerton season 1. December of 2020, baby. Mutton chops? Who gives a fuck about mutton chops? More hair for my hands to grab? Fantastic. But like, I've been on this shit since Anthony Bridgerton. And you guys are all fucking late. I've been seeing so much thirst content about Fiyero. I'm like, y'all, where the fuck is love for Anthony season 1? Why are we new to this? Jonathan Bailey's been hot his whole life.
Good on him.
I know.
You know, and just like us, Nick is immediately engrossed in this man's smile. Even if he doesn't understand a single thing he's saying, he's like a fish out of water in this conversation. He doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, but he's invested. He's listening. He doesn't know to what, but he's paying attention. And when it comes time for the Q&A, Charlie raises his hand to ask a question. And Jack Maddox calls on him. And he asks if Jack Maddox has any book recommendations about queerness in ancient Greece. Baby, I'm sure there's tons. And Nick looks over at Charlie with this like look of admiration. It's so cute as he reaches for his hand. It's very sweet. He's like so proud of Charlie that he raised his hand, asked this question, talked to Jack Maddox. And at the end, they make their way down to get their book signed. Charlie does the usual, hi, I'm a big fan. Probably the only thing I'd ever be able to muster in the face of any celebrity, especially Jonathan Bailey. And Charlie goes on to say he wants to study classics at university and that Jack Maddox has been a huge inspiration for him. And Jack Maddox is super sweet and engaging. He's like, oh, classics was my favorite too. He signs Charlie's book and then looks up to Nick and is like, what can I do for you?
Woo!
And Nick just becomes a stumbling, mumbling pile of sweat, this poor child. And eventually just has to verbally admit like, oh shit, he is really fucking high. My guy was at a loss for words. He didn't know what to say. Mesopotame, great Mesopotame joke. Ah, poor sweet baby. So they arrive back at Charlie's that afternoon, clearly smitten with each other, probably still with this conversation Charlie brought up the night before swirling in their heads. And they make out immediately as soon as they get into Charlie's room, as animations of neon blooms and flowers swirl around them, right? With this like that electrifying like buzz. And their usual animation now has this electric, supercharged quality to it, right? Like with Tao and Elle. And it's showing you their touches are more like zaps and electricity, as their chemistry and their desire for each other intensifies. So they move onto the bed, having a full makeout sesh. Nick starts grabbing Charlie by the waist, pulling on his shirt, and this starts taking Charlie out of this experience. Now he's feeling self-conscious, as we've seen before, about his body. We start seeing the shadow of insecurity and doubt quite literally come over Charlie as the screen darkens in these moments. And he wants to try to keep going. He's trying to like get himself to snap out of it. But Nick senses his vibes are off right away and suggests that they stop. Just as they hear a knock on the door, and it is Charlie's mom who walks in.
Don't like that.
And they very quickly try to look really chill and normal as they adjust themselves, panting. Oh, no. God. Oh, no, oh, no, oh, no. And you know what? Kudos to Charlie's mom at this moment, because she simply goes, okay, how was your day? And then just asks them to please keep the door open. And everyone is cool and chill and fine. Once the boys are alone again, Charlie confesses that he's nervous about taking his shirt off. Now, I love how forward Charlie was with this. He doesn't try to say everything's okay. He doesn't try to pretend he's cool. He comes right out with it. Hey, I'm nervous about taking my shirt off. I'm self-conscious about my body. And I have scars. And Nick, he knows this. He just goes, I know. Very simply. Charlie even says like, hey, we just saw Jack Maddox and he's fucking hot. I look nothing like him. I don't have a six-pack. And Nick reassures him and tells him, I fancy you infinitely better than Jack Maddox. I love you so much and I want you. It's too much. It's too precious.
That's
Stop
very
it right
sweet.
now. Charlie says he wants to quote unquote carry on, but they decide his house wouldn't be the best place as Tori and her mom are yelling across the house and Tori's running across the hall.
Yo, British people love nothing more than to carry on. Okay, continue.
Keep calm and carry on. And you know, something that I love that this show pointed out. Charlie's disordered eating notwithstanding, I love the show pointing out boys are self-conscious about their bodies too. We know Charlie's disordered eating comes from a place of anxiety and OCD. But for many, it comes from a place of physical insecurities, especially among queer teen males. And I think so often as a society, we forget that boys are also influenced by beauty standards. The first thing Charlie said to Nick was, I don't look like Jack Maddox. He has that set in his head as a desired standard that he's not meeting. Mm-hmm. Aside from his struggles, aside from his mental struggles, aside from his disordered eating, this is a standard he has set for himself and he feels he's not meeting that standard. Not to mention, he's maybe even comparing himself to his very muscular boyfriend who he couldn't stop looking at the beach and very clearly didn't want to take his shirt off in front of because he would feel judged. So a lot of times as women, we always think of society's expectations and standards for ourselves, and we all understand that. It's so important to see that from a young boy's perspective on how society's expectations on them really do affect them mentally. So in Charlie's next therapy session, he opens up to Jeff about these insecurities surrounding getting intimate with Nick. What he says is he's anxious of Nick looking at how skinny he is and seeing his scars and thinking that he's disgusting, even though he himself doesn't think he does in fact look disgusting. And even knowing consciously that Nick loves him no matter what and wouldn't think he's disgusting. Mm-hmm. But anxiety is just a backwards ass bitch. Jeff helps him contextualize this anxiety with Charlie's need for control. And getting intimate with someone requires a level of trust to be able to relinquish some control. That's the scary part. So Jeff continues that as long as Charlie and Nick respect and trust each other and communicate clearly, then he's safe. And I found that as such a great way to reframe anxiety or something you're anxious about. Naming the thing that's scary and then pointing out, hey, this is the thing that's scary. And here are the reasons why you're safe. He's not invalidating the thing you're scared about, but you're enhancing these are the reasons why you're safe to counteract some of that fear or balance it out. And then, of course, as any adult having this conversation with a teenager, Jeff makes sure to mention safe sex practices and shares safe sex resources. And Charlie is like, yes, I know. I got it. We did the condom thing in school. Ugh. Check. But then Charlie out loud wishes that he were more confident. And Jeff quickly reminds him that his confidence is what has helped him achieve the relationship he's in today. He's the one who made the first move initially. And Jeff doesn't mention this, but his confidence is also what helped Nick through his journey of coming out. And we get this adorable flashback back to episode 3, season 1, when Charlie and Nick kiss for the first time at the party. Oh, that's so cute. It makes me want to go back and rewatch the whole thing all over again, honestly. As Jeff continues to say, you are confident. The feeling confident is the challenge. And that's a challenge that he's always going to have to face in his relationship and in every other aspect in life. But that he believes that Charlie has it in him to do so. Of course, Charlie is the bravest, honestly. We've only seen Charlie be brave. Now, this ending of this episode felt a little weird because as Jeff is saying this, Charlie is looking out the window as singers start to vocalize a melody and a pair of animated birds flutter and fly towards the sky. The birds, as we've mentioned before, have always been associated with Nick and Charlie since season 1. As far as I can remember, we saw the birds for the first time after Nick helped Charlie from that terrible situation with Ben. Nick's on his way home with his mom. He receives his first text from Charlie saying, "Thank you." And as he receives this text, he kind of looks up, hopeful that he reached out to him. Now they're communicating. This is the first text Charlie has sent, and you get the birds. But to me, they were seagulls because I felt like you heard the beach as well. And that foreshadowed the end of season 1 when they officially became boyfriends at the beach. And here we are, a full year later, they as a couple are reaching a new milestone as Charlie is realizing that he is ready to take it to the next level with Nick. They've developed a relationship that is full of trust, respect for one another, as well as unwavering support. That's what we've seen in the last couple of episodes. The next step for them is intimacy, and that will only deepen their connection. I love how they brought back that symbolism of the birds for them. And the birds even look bigger compared to season 1, hinting at their growth together as individuals. What felt weird, I think, was kind of like the angelic singing, and they kind of like really lingered on the moment for a long time. I feel like these moments are more appreciated when they're more subtle. They really wanted to make that connection obvious for you. And I would say overall, that's the one difference of this season that sticks out to me is there's a little less nuance in the directing of it than in previous seasons, I would say. So Charlie having this realization of wanting to take it to the next level with Nick is how we end episode 6 of this season 3. Come back next week for our discussion of 7 and 8, where we get to talk about sex, baby. Talk about Nick and Charlie. Can't wait to get to talk about those episodes and finally wrap up season 3 of Heartstopper. Thank you so much for following us along as we talk about this amazing, amazing show. let us know what you think about this episode. If you're on Spotify, you can leave us a comment right here, or slip into our DMs on Instagram at sisflixpodcast, or shoot us an email at sisflixpodcast@gmail.com. And you already know, if you like what you heard and you want to hear more, please leave a review anywhere you get your podcasts. We're also on Patreon if you would like to support us there. All the links will be in our show notes. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Happy New Year.
Oh, shit. Happy New Year.
Oh, shit. Happy New Year.
Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Happy New Year.
I hope all of you have a great New Year's. Looking forward to a prosperous 2025 outside of all the other major things going on in the world. Let's not think about it too much. We're gonna, all good things.
Okay. Let's not think about it too much is right.
Happy New Year's, guys.